Hello, this is Blue Heart Tattoo and April Fools. Sorry. Normally I don't usually do April Fool's pranks basically because I'm usually the gullible one who ends up being pranked instead. But I thought it would be fun that since there's been a bit of radio or rather video silence on my channel, I could be mean and give you false hope. But I don't also want to leave you disappointed, so here's a speed paint that I made that is both Fluttercord and Snow White related. So yay! And this is my first time doing a commentary on my piece. I've seen others like Magpie do this before, and I want to see if I can make this a regular thing when it comes to drawing my own pieces. Obviously, I won't be doing any pieces from audio dramas like Friendship is Tragic 2 or Element of Kindness unless that the episodes that feature them is released and if I have the energy to record one. I know I'm that lazy. As you can see, this is a piece of my own, but it's not without its inspiration, so if you see between the tabs of my references somewhere around here, at my paint tool side, which is the program that I use along with Photoshop that you will see later on, there's a shot of Snow White in a Snow White costume with a blue penguin by her side. And if you're asking why is Hello Kitty sitting right by a blue penguin dressed as Snow White, allow me to explain. This is a show from my childhood that actually made a huge impact on it now I think about it more, and it's called Hello Kitty's Furry Tale Theater. It was a show from the 80s that actually had a pretty short run. It only had 13 episodes, and it's basically what all you get is Hello Kitty throwing retellings of fairy tales with her friends, which I'm shocked to find that a lot of them in there are not from the official line. They made new characters from the show like Catnip or Grinder, and I'm not entirely sure if Tuxedo Sam or Chips are a part of the Friends line, but I do know that My Melody is in the official line, so that is as far as my knowledge goes when it comes to that franchise. Anyway, each story has like 2 segments, about 13 minutes each, where every fairy tales into a play with her own twist into the story. Sometimes it could be either a cat pun being worked in, or if they do something new that is creative. My personal favorite is their take on Cinderella, where everything is the same, except they made Cinderella played by Hello Kitty because of course, she's the main character. She's gotta take all the lead roles in every play possible. They make this Cinderella really into football. She practices herself. She even ends up playing the football team that her Prince Charming plays in. And that's really cool, and especially when there are characters in that story that makes the assumption about the gender roles that they surround to girls, like girls shouldn't be football, they shouldn't be tomboys. Although I admit that message in that episode is a bit one-sided as it only focuses on Cinderella and her love of football, but I digress. And then there's even times where they don't even focus on fairy tales. There's a few episodes where they take from classic movies based on what was popular in the 80s, like there was King Kong, Godzilla, E.T., even frickin' Star Wars. I can't act that it is the greatest show of all time, but it can actually be very entertaining. Fun fact, this is actually Tara Strong's debut on voice acting, and she was around 13 when she voiced Hello Kitty herself. I don't want to praise her too much right now, especially with all the controversies that surrounds her right now. But with her being a kid on her time in the show, she really did an impressive job. There's another voice actor that I would consider my favorite performance, and that is Cree Summers, who voiced Catnip. And if you know Cree Summers, she voiced our entire childhoods. Like, she was number 5 from Kid Next Door. She was one of the dragons in Dragon Tales. She was Kida from Atlantis. There's probably a lot more that I can't list right now because she has a very massive resume on her hands, but but she might be my favorite performance with her character Catnip, because she sounds like she is having a ball doing hamming it up as Catnip. Like, she always plays the villain roles, so she always gets to ham it up no matter what she does. Like, for example, at one point where they made a Sleeping Beauty story where instead of a prick of a spindle that would put the Sleeping Beauty to sleep, it's television. God, I love this show. And at one point, Cree actually does a pretty spot-on impression of Pee-wee from Pee-wee's Playhouse. Yeah, that's how much fun she was playing with this role, and she makes Catnip an absolute joy to watch, even though we don't get a lot of appearances from her after the show ended, and it makes me kind of sad. I actually want to see some Catnip lovers out there. You can actually find the show on YouTube. It's actually free. You can find those here. And I think there are some subscriptions that offers watching the show for free. I think Roku might be the only one I can find, but I don't know. I remember Hulu having it free for a while, so correct me if I'm wrong on that. As you can see from what I'm talking, they did a Snow White episode. I mean, what kind of fairy tale retelling would it be if they didn't include Snow White? And it's compared to the other two fairy tales I mentioned, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, they don't do a whole lot to change the story. Everything's kept the same. The only difference is that they keep it up to one dwarf, which is Grinder, and they kind of make a joke based on the emotions he's in. Like, gee, don't be so grumpy. Oh, don't be bashful. Don't be so dopey. Which is kind of a cute side joke. But the other change is that instead of the poison apple that would put Snow White to sleep, they instead did like a teddy bear, like a stuffed teddy bear with a recording on it with a spell, a song to say, go to sleep, Snow White kitty. Like all creepy and everything. Like, kudos to make it that creepy anything, but I don't really understand why they would have to change a toy, change an apple into a toy. Maybe it's because cats don't like fruit? I don't know. But this shot of Snow White meeting the prince after he kisses her is actually my favorite shot of the whole series, mainly based on the background and the lighting, which kind of shows this heavenly glow around Snow White on this flower bed, and the backgrounds being kind of like dark, but then being shining glowing as soon as you focus on Snow White, possibly of how the prince kind of sees her and how he will fall in love with her. That's actually very beautiful to me. I watched that scene pretty recently, and I just think, I would imagine that this is what Discord would look like at Fluttershy in this setting. I thought that would be very cute, hence why this piece existed. For those who's been watching my audio drama or have been reading my original fanfic since the very beginning in late 2015, man, isn't that 10 years already? What the hell? The story is inspired by Snow White, but I don't necessarily follow the formula of the original fairy tale. I kind of like stories that kind of take on something that is familiar to us, like the fairy tales, and try to bend them around a little bit. Like, maybe it can be from the environment or from the characters, or what if this happened instead? Some of my favorite books to read is actually one of those young adults fairy tale retellings like Beastly or the Disney Twisted series. So with the fact that the MLP fandom has so many creative headcanons and stories about these characters and the magical world they build around them, really helped to try build around what I can write to make my own Fluttercord story. I used other elements other than Snow White, like I use this anime, Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind. I use a sort of like a dystopian world with an area that's actually quite peaceful, which is what I base my version of Ponyville in. And I use movies like Tangled and Land Before Time for some scenes and characters. I actually based Diamond Tiara's development to Sarah from the latter, but with the Crusaders of the Lost Mark episode really helped too. And I even use music in shows like Steven Universe or Dear Evan Hansen. But the point I'm trying to go across is that when I wrote this story, is that how can I make a retelling of Snow White that is actually believable based on the characters and their environment? If you really think about it, I don't really think a Fluttercord story would fit if you follow the Snow White story beat by beat. I could definitely see Fluttershy in a role because, she's kind and lovely and she loves animals, but I don't see Discord as the handsome Prince Charming who will come to save the day. He's Discord, he's quirky and funny and loves to cause mayhem and pranks wherever he goes. I don't see he would be the valiant hero that would come swoop in like some Deus Ex Machina. That would be out of character for him. But I do see him in a story like Tangled or Beauty and Beast, where Discord would have these qualities, but he would soften up a little bit as he falls in love with Fluttershy. It really makes a difference on how much you can add or change in a retelling, and that is something that I learned while writing the story all those years ago. And as it nearly ends here, I thought I would give a quick update on the audio drama so far, especially with episode 5. And, well, that's pretty much a loaded question right there. First things first, I almost got all the materials in. I'm still waiting on a few voice actors and artists who haven't turned in their parts yet. I can't really give much of a date of when it's all gonna be done because I would like to give my actors and artists time based on our schedule. Even when I have a limited set of extensions I will use for each episode's productions. But even with all the material I have right now, I haven't started editing them because of so many reasons. One, I've been busy in life in general. Right now, I am in the middle of Special Olympics for winter and spring. I am doing basketball and swimming, and area games are coming up pretty soon in the month with the state games and all in the beginning of May. And I also have my state waiver program that I got approved on early this year. I've been testing the waters around that pretty recently. And if you know what all that means, bravo to you. And also I'm possibly thinking about moving to another state to be closer with my dad with a visit I will be making in the summer. That will help me decide whether I should move to that state or not. So yeah, life has been pretty hectic for me. But even that, I've been doing my best, keeping in progress and checking in the voice actors and artists as much as I can without overexerting myself, which is actually quite a lot. I end up messaging them in the middle of the night, because I've been so busy during the day. Also added with that, I also work in Friendship is Tragic 2 and The Forest Beast with the final episode coming out soon. I recommend you checking that out as soon as it comes in. But yeah, there's not much that I can say other than to be patient and know that the best is yet to come, because with episode 5, we are starting to get into the real meats of the story. This is the part where everything will start to change for the remainder of the series, and I cannot wait to see your reactions to this. And that's basically all that I have to say. So, thank you for watching both my April Fool's prank and the speed paint, and just listen to me talk like a babbling idiot for the last, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. And if you like me to do more of these where I speed paint my pieces and talk about my process or the story that goes with it, let me know, and I will possibly think about that. I will definitely want to do something like this again. Once again, be patient. I'll just steal a few lines from Magpie or Obab Scribbler. Be kind to each other, be lovely, and have a good day. Bye bye.